for attending this session, which is a session called Entering the New Year with Strength. At the outset, I would like to offer my humble obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vaskatyade Shatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. It is always seen that when we start a new venture, a new effort, at that time we have to gather all our consciousness and our awareness into what is going to come. I very much liked how today one resident of our ashram approached me and said, I like to use this day, the 1st of January, for reflection about my life, where I am and where I wish to go and where I wish to move on to. So this is very important, that we take a little moment in our time, 1 or 2 moments even, to think a little bit about life. Where am I now and where do I wish to go in the future? Now I would like to suggest a certain approach which is bound to bring about a very, very different type of result. My thought is not so clear because I just have done so many other things. Let me again repeat myself. I would like to suggest an approach to starting into the new year, which is perhaps different than what you are accustomed to. When we think of the normal way of how we start an effort, how we start a year, we usually speak about dropping some old habits, and we discuss in our mind how we can accept new things, new customs, new activities, new programs, new projects. But I want to ask you sincerely, do you think that this is the only way to attain success in your life? That you add new things to your list of things to do, and that you throw out some old habits? Is it that simple? Have we not seen that the best intentions which are formulated at the beginning of the year are usually not followed through? I once heard that what was it? 25% of the New Year's resolutions are broken after 1 month. And 75% of the New Year's resolution are broken throughout the rest of the year. Adding things to the list does not always make us successful. In fact, it sometimes creates only more stress and more exhaustion. If you want to live a very vibrant and fulfilling new year, it may be better to choose an approach which I would like to introduce to you here. It is about, this approach is about creating the right type of circumstances. When we can create the right type of circumstances, the result which we want quickly comes on its own, automatically. Let me give you an example of how creating the right type of circumstances bring about the right results. Let me say, I wish to get up more earlier in the morning. Now I can approach this with a lot of willpower, that I somehow put the alarm clock on the desired time, and I buy a real loud alarm clock, and I really put it out of reach where I can't stop the alarm clock. But there is another much more successful approach to getting up at the right time. It is to go to bed earlier. When you go to bed earlier, your body rests better, and then when the time comes in the morning, you don't want to stay in bed any longer. You have been resting nicely, and now you are ready to take the day on. And so this creating the right circumstances, my dear devotees and my dear friends, is a much better approach to living your New Year's resolution successfully than to just take the other way and forcefully, by adding new things, try to become successful. I would like to now talk a little bit about creating the favorable circumstances that can make us grow nicely in our spiritual life. These circumstances are taken from the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam you find several prayers, but there is also a theme in the prayers which is repeating itself. In this theme, the devotees are asking Krishna for certain circumstances which can help them to grow their bhakti very nicely. I want to quote two devotees who pray for the right circumstances, and then when you understand these circumstances properly, I think you feel inspired to put these circumstances also in your life. The first devotee is Parikshit Maharaj. As you know very well, Parikshit Maharaj had been cursed to die within 7 days, but he was very fortunate. He went down to the bank of the river Ganga, and there he waited. There was an open invitation which he spoke out to the sadhus to come and be with him in these last 7 days and instruct him. It so happened that many sadhus came, saints from all corners of the universe arrived, uh, uh, then the most special of them arrived. Shukadev Goswami, who was dressed by the 4 directions only. He was naked. He was a fully self-realized soul. And he went into the assembly where the saints and the Emperor Parikshit were waiting. And everyone agreed, he is the most qualified of all of us to instruct Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj prayed some prayers. He said, I'm so happy, I'm fortunate. Normally saints don't come to kings like us because they feel we are too absorbed in material life, but you have come. And then he requested in a prayer the most favorable circumstances. I offer my obeisances to all of you, and I pray that if I should take my birth in the material world again, I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna. I will have association with his devotees, and I pray that I will have friendly relationships with all living beings. Prabhupada comments here, Maharaj Parikshit was certainly going back to Godhead. But even if he were not to go back, he prayed for a pattern of life which is the most perfect way in the material world. Note this, a pattern of life which is most favorable for us in the material world. These are ideal circumstances for our bhakti. What was it he prayed for? Attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna, association with his devotees, and friendly relations with all living beings. Now, let me go to the second devotee whom I would like to speak about. His name is Shrutadev. He was a Brahmana who lived in Mathura. He was very disturbed that the evil king Kamsa ruled Mathura, and when he found out that Kamsa hated Krishna, he was even more disturbed. He did not appreciate to live in Mathura, but at the same time he had his full faith that according to scripture the Lord would come one day to Mathura. And so it happened. One day Lord Krishna traveled from Vrindavan to Mathura, and on that day when he arrived, he made a walk through the whole town, and in this walk he also met Shrutadev, and Shrutadev received him at his home, and he was a garland maker, a florist. He could make very nice flower decorations, so he was so happy to see Krishna because now he could worship Lord Krishna with his skill of making flowers. So he then gave him and Balaram exquisite garlands, and when he has given his best garlands, he was not satisfied. They were not nice enough, so he quickly made another garland just for Krishna. These other garlands he had offered earlier were prefabricated. They were there. But now he made sure to make a very certain garland, a special garland for Krishna with lotus flowers. And then, when he had handed this garland to Krishna, garlanded Krishna, he said, "My dear Lord, I want to pray to you that you please give me unshakable devotion to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul. Further, I would like to say that I want to have friendship with Krishna's devotees. And finally, I request you that please give me transcendental compassion to all living beings. These three desires are really the same of desires as Parikshit Maharaj had said. He said, Parikshit said, I want to have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Shri Krishna. Shukadev said, I want to have unshakable devotion. It's the same thing. Then I want to have association with devotees. And Shukadev said, yes, association and friendship with the devotees. And then Parikshit Maharaj said, I wish to have friendly relations with all living beings. And Shukadev said, I want to have compassion to all living beings. It's the same idea. My dear listeners, if you can make your life in such, create circumstances in your life where you have these three things, you will see how your life will prosper, how these circumstances will create the best 2021. I request all of you to write these down on a piece of paper. I will give you now the verses, and maybe if there is some talented person there, he can put them into the chat box. The first verse is from Parikshit Maharaj, Canto 1, Chapter 19, Text 16. Gaurahari, please write down. Canto 1, Chapter 19, Text 16. And the second verse which I read to you, where Shrudadev asked the Lord for blessings, is Canto 10, Chapter 41, Text 51. Let us think for a moment a little bit. What could it mean in the year 2021 to develop more attachment or to have more attachment to the Lord Shri Krishna? Think, do I have the second verse, says Tatiana. Yes, Tatiana. 10, 41, 51. Yes, here Gaurahari has put it. Yes. This increasing your attachment to Krishna, you should pray really for this. All the devotees have not just thought, I can just develop this feeling on my own. You need to pray to Krishna. Oh Krishna, please let me love you more. I'm now attached to so many things in this world. Please allow me to become attached to only you. Queen Kunti prays to Krishna, my dear Lord, my affection is like the river Ganga. Let it flow. Push away all the obstacles. Let it flow into the deep sea of your qualities. My dear devotees, attachment for Krishna is a gift which Krishna has to give us. So pray at the right address for this. Then Parikshit Maharaj wants to have friendship with devotees. That is very important. Somehow, in the year 2021, we should think of how we can have more association with the devotees. Some of you think that, oh no, there may be more lockdowns. How can I have association with the devotees of Krishna? But you can listen to the devotees, and you can also phone with them. That will help you to be in the right circumstances. And finally, the right circumstances, the last quality is to have friendly relationships with all living beings, or transcendental compassion to all. Yesterday we walked, or was it the day before yesterday? I walked with someone who visited us through the forest here, and he noted that I am greeting every one of the people who are walking in the forest. Now during the lockdown period, people know they have to go outside and get fresh air. So he said, "You are so friendly to everyone." And I said, "I was not always like this." Even one of my disciples said, "You are no longer chastising us and pointing out our faults." I said, that was one period, but now I like to encourage friendly relationships to all living entities. Sometimes help them more. In every one of us is an unloved child. That is, when we were children, we had our parents meant well, but they may not have had the time, or they may have sometimes in the name of education have been a little tough on our children mentality. We may have wanted to play, and that was difficult for us. So when you are hurt like this, you do keep this hurt in an unconscious way, even when you are growing up. And I can see really people walk through these times with that unloved child in the heart. I was just talking to one devotee, Ganesyam Priya, and asked him, "What are your realizations during this year?" And he said, "I really see in the grown-up people this unloved child. You have to encourage them, and you have to give them your love, and if you do, only then they feel they can go on in their life." The devotee does this. He wants to have friendly and compassionate relationships to all living entities. He wants to help them, and he wants to uplift their life. And if you do that, well, you yourself become really blessed. I have seen when you as a person can give compassion and attention to others, Krishna gives it back to you 100,000 times. So these are the 3 favorable circumstances which will help us in the new year. Attachment and devotion to Krishna, association and friendship to his devotees, and finally, friendly or compassionate relationships to all living entity. Pray for this. Look in this direction. Try to develop these qualities, and then you create the favorable circumstances which you need in order to live a life full of love and full of inner strength. My dear devotees, this is a simple yet very profound New Year's message which I like to give you. Instead of thinking to increase your let us say, it's always good to increase the sadhana, but instead of thinking of adding and adding and adding and adding and still adding to the list because you have not yet reached the perfection, try to approach the year in a different way. Not in the way of adding things on your do list, but creating the circumstances from which all success, all inspiration, all spiritual strength will come forward. Just like a person who wishes to wake up earlier in the morning should create the circumstances, for instance, going to bed earlier, not eating so much in the evening, and so on. In the same way, create these 3 types of circumstances, and as a result, you will see how bhakti will come forward. I will ask Gaurahari now to make a note in the chat box so that we can all learn these 3 things. Unshakable devotion to Lord Krishna. That was the first thing. I don't see it. Maybe Gaurahari is not there. So then I will just repeat them for all of you and you can write them down. The 3 favorable, yes, here it is. Unshakable devotion to Krishna. Then friendship with his devotees. Internet has a magical dimension. Friendship with his devotees. And third is transcendental compassion to all living beings. These are the 3 magical good circumstances that will help you live a really spiritual life. Good. I think it will come any moment. I will now go and answer. Here it is. Transcendental compassion to all living beings. Yes, please take a note of this. I will now answer your questions which have arrived. Here I will be able to stay with you on this call up to 5:30, so we have a little bit more than half an hour for this, and then I will have to go to some other internet, and then I have to go to Dallas by the internet. So the first question comes from Renu. It is, how can we increase our capacity to absorb spirituality? I find that I can only do so much and then need to do something else. And this is the pattern I have fallen into. Thank you. From Renu. This is a very deep question. It is a very, very profound question. And it is a question which opens our attention to a very sincere subject, a very serious subject. Let me ask another question to answer this question. By what thing do we lose our capacity to absorb spiritual life? That which is an obstacle to our spiritual, to our capacity to absorb spiritual life is called in Sanskrit aparadha. Aparadha are all these activities that bring us away from Radha and Krishna. When you are engaging in many other activities, you lose your capability. Aparada has a general meaning, and I've given it, that which leads us away from Krishna. There may be unfavorable movies which you look, or you may go and have association with unfavorable people, or you may eat things that are really not good for your bhakti. No? These types of things destroy our capability. But aparada in a more specific way means also to create offenses against Krishna and his devotees, to quarrel maybe with spiritual with devotees. Or aparada means to not pay attention really to the holy name. It is the name for aparada is specifically, for specific aparadas, offenses. And in a general way, they mean everything which leads us away from Krishna. So please pay a little bit more attention to these aparadas and avoid them. And as a result, you will see that your, let me say, capability to absorb genuine spirituality will definitely grow. They will definitely grow. So my suggestion is, Renu, that you have some talk with a devotee friend of about this, because you have to explore the subject a little bit. But then please avoid these unfavorable activities which you must be doing so that your taste or your capability is disturbed. The example which is given in scripture is when you when you have fever, you cannot enjoy sweet rice, or not even a good feast you can enjoy. You must cure the fever if you want to have a healthy appetite. So in the same way, you have to see that you can avoid the fever of material activities and material perspectives, and then your capability will grow. Next question is put from Yogesh. Your devotees are at different stages of spiritual evolution. Teachings by the spiritual master aim to aspire us to a highly evolved state. Many see a great gap between their current situation and the goal. This can sometimes demoralize. How should such people relate to the spiritual master and his teachings? Haribol from Yogesh. Yes, there's a gap, a disconnect between where we are on one state, our present level, and where we want to go. So the teachings of the spiritual master seem to be, says Yogesh, on a very highly elevated level, and they really do not match with the situation of most of the devotees. You are right, but only if the devotees do not know how to apply these teachings. Lord Krishna speaks in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam how to apply spiritual teachings. He says, everyone must practice according to his capability, to his adhikar. And he says, if someone practices beyond their adhikar, beyond their present capabilities, they come in a difficult situation. Let me give you an example. Most people are best situated in the Grihastha ashram. If they try to artificially remain uh, brahmacharis or monks, they will not make advancement. They will become crazy in their head. So everyone has to practice according to his present level. Or let us give another example from sadhana. In the beginning, Prabhupada could see that most of the devotees were not capable to chant 64 rounds throughout the day. So he understood, if we don't lower the standard, if the standard is not adapted to the capability, then devotees stand no chance. If they try to do something they cannot do, they will become disappointed and, as you say, demoralized. So there you will hear the spiritual teachings of which are given by the spiritual masters in toto, but then you have to see what is your particular standard, what is your capability, and in this way you make advancement very quickly. Very interesting, very interesting. Now we will come to the third question, which is posed by Venuya Devidasi, who was previously known to us as Bhaktin Franka from the town of Schwerin. So she is asking in perfect English, wow, I wish a really good New Year to everyone. Thank you, thank you. My question is, I've got the advice to let everything go and follow the play of Krishna's flute. What are the first steps to realize this? How can my affection to Krishna increase in relationship to his flute? Thank you very much. Your servant. The advice which you got, it must have been from a high spiritual source, was to follow Krishna's flute. I will ask you now a question. Do you hear Krishna's flute? Look, there's Krishna playing his flute. Do you hear it? If I may ask you the question, what raga does he play at the moment? Oh, you prefer a German note system. So what notes has he played? Is it in C or A sharp? What is the flute song of Krishna? I think you will agree when I ask these pointed questions, these exact questions, these detailed questions where you cannot say just anything and get away with it, you will find it difficult to give an answer. You have to see what the flute of Krishna, the flute sound of Krishna is for us. And I want to give you a good answer. The flute of Krishna, which he plays in Goloka Vrindavan, has various dimensions. The way we hear Krishna's sound in this world is as the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's how we can hear it in our ears. Or the way it is said, the way we hear Krishna's sound in this world is as the Bhagavad Gita. So connect with these two things which you can hear, which you can realistically appreciate in your ears. That is, I was so excited when I first heard this, that Krishna's melodious sound vibration in the form of the flute is audible, hearable in this world as the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's why Kirtan is just so important. As you hear the Kirtan, you will hear the sound vibration of the Lord. Or if you hear the scriptures of the Bhagavad Gita. I remember we had made on the 25th of December a wonderful spiritual practice. We sat down in Hamburg with a few devotees, and we recited the entire Bhagavad Gita from the first verse to the last verse. And after it took us 2.5 hours, I remember. After it, we just sat there totally inspired, with our hearts full of bliss, because we had come in contact with the sound vibration of Krishna. Or when you are in the Kirtan, and the Kirtan is completed, then you can sit for a little while and let the echo of the sound vibration of Krishna go and vibrate in your heart. Good. Thank you. These are excellent questions. I'm coming to question number 4. As I watch the question, I can. We have now 3 more questions altogether. There is still time for you to send some other questions in the chat box for Gaurahari to answer. So please, not for Gaurahari to answer, I'm sorry, for Gaurahari to see, and then he will send them to Gaur Krishna here on WhatsApp, I think, and then I will get them. 4th question. You mentioned in your class on Snehamayi that one way to awaken devotional feelings is through the association of exalted devotees and having live contact. My question is, our hearts may not always be fully open to receive when we are in the association of exalted devotees. How can one become more receptive in opening this heart space to become a fitter recipient? And is the potency which we receive from that association affected by how open our heart is? Very good question. The question in essence is, how can we be more open to receive the potency of the association of devotees? I like to answer this by giving you an analogy. See, this is a glass of herbal tea, and I could fill the glass because its open side was pointing upwards. If the glass would have pointed downwards, the tea would not have been able to be poured. I would not have been able to pour the tea inside the teacup. So when we come into the association of devotees, it is very important that we put our heart into the right place, or put it up in the right way, so that something can go on. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna discusses how we should tune our heart so that the instructions can really go inside. He gives us the right instructions how to place our hearts properly. What he says is that there should be 3 things in which we prepare our heart. 3 very nice things. The first is, make sure you come to devotees who are properly situated. They should be the proper devotees. The second is your attitude should be a humble attitude. You should concede and agree that these devotees might know more than you and might be able to give you better advice. No? Then you put your glass in the receptive mood. A humble state of mind is possible. I have been in situations where I have talked and tried to assist devotees, but one devotee has just argued back, boo, 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 with so much argument that nothing really went into the heart. I asked, have you heard what I said? Yes, I heard, and it doesn't work. Please repeat what I have said. And then the devotee was not able to repeat what I had said because he had not placed his heart in the right position. If we want to hear spiritual instructions, we have to put our heart in the right position. That is, we have to practice an openness to the devotees, what they say. And the last thing you have to do, if you really want to benefit these devotees, do some service for them. Do something that maybe you want to give them books, or you want to paint something, or you want to search a nice quotation of Srila Prabhupada and send it to them. Somehow serve them, and then you will be able to benefit from the association very much. So yes, a simple example. We have to put our this part here of our heart in the right position. And the way we position our heart properly as to receive maximum benefit is go to proper devotees, be in a submissive state of mind, and finally do some service. No? The submission can be, let me say, displayed or shown or manifested by asking them questions. Good. We come to the fifth question. It's from Bira Krishna. This fourth question was from Vrinda in England. Hari Bol, Vrinda. Nice. Now, Bira Krishna, my armored heart, tightly sealed off by a materially rational mind, is also quite immune to devotional feelings. How to make the heart more accessible for genuine devotional feelings? Oh, very, very good questions. How to make the heart more accessible for genuine devotional feelings. What a good question. I'm thinking very deeply at the moment. I will speak now something very sincerely. If you really want to know the answer to this question, you are not interested in a superficial answer, then you need to do a very advanced spiritual practice. That is, you need to surrender your own will to the will of Krishna. Only by stepping out of the hamster wheel of your own will and surrendering to Krishna, then it will be possible for you to have genuine devotional feelings. We are cheating ourselves. We are fake devotees as long as we only do what is in our mind, our interest, our desire. The longer we can upkeep the mood of surrendered service, the easier it will be for us to feel something for Krishna. Why is this so? This is so because, as you have said, we all carry an armor. The German word would be Rüstung, an iron armor around us. This is our ego. I and mine, that is the steel out of which the armor is made. I am the most important. My interests, my feelings, my desires. Spiritual life starts outside of this armor, outside of the armor of the false ego, and you have to step out of it by 6 steps. The first is you accept what is favorable for devotional service. You give up the unfavorable. Then you accept what is you reject what is unfavorable and you accept what is favorable. 2 things. What is not helpful, you let it drop to the side. What is helpful, you cultivate. Then comes the next step. You give yourself over to the protection of Krishna. Krishna, I'm surrendering to you, please protect me. The 4th step, you are considering Krishna, maybe like you have considered your parents when you were a child, small child. You consider Krishna as the maintainer. And the 3rd step, that was the 4th step. 5th step is you surrender to Krishna, and the 6th step is you are genuine, humble. These are the 6 processes of surrender. By this, genuine devotional feelings come up because you are leaving the armor of your false ego. You're stepping out of this. And then real life can start. Good. Now comes the last question. We are good in time here. Why can I sing Kirtan for hours and not notice the time, but in my japa I have to make a lot of effort? The holy name is the same. I feel that Krishna enjoys our Kirtan, and even when I sing along, but he doesn't enjoy my japa. Does it mean that I'm attached to the music, not to the holy name? What can I do? Bhaktin Jelena from Estonia. Srila Jiva Goswami answers this question. He says, Kirtan is easier than other forms of chanting the holy name, because in the association of devotees, as we sing, extraordinary devotional service, devotional feelings come up when you sing with many. Just like you say, you seem to be so much enjoying it, so that you cannot see how the hours pass. That is the special blessings which lie on Kirtan. Therefore, to do Kirtan is the most common form of practice of Krishna consciousness in this age of Kali. Still, japa is very important, because in japa you are showing Krishna that you're really serious. In japa it's only you and the Lord. And you have to be there, you have to be committed there, you have to give your best there, so that in japa, that you can maintain your japa practice. In japa you show Krishna that you are serious about your relationship. In fulfilling your quota in japa, you show that you are really meaning it. You give some little sacrifice for Krishna. Therefore, of all the sacrifices, japa is Krishna. In Kirtan, you are carried along. And both is important, and both help each other. Someone who has good japa will have good Kirtan. Someone who does good Kirtan will improve their japa. They are assisting each other in a mutual way. My dear devotees, my dear friends, it was a genuine joy to be with you today. Some of you came a little late, I can see. No problem, no problem, no problem. I will stop the program here, the question and answer session here, because we require these 3 minutes which we have now. Gaurahari will give us a short introduction